Disclaimer, I'm not ripping off Ozone. This video was inspired by his, but this video is being formed by my own opinions and are in no way influenced by his. Thank you.
Are you sure about that?
January 26th, 2015. Almost 8 years ago now. It was a different time. I was 7, and I barely knew anything about FNAF. The trailer for FNAF 3 just dropped, and while I wasn't a part of the community yet, this was just about the peak for the franchise. Wait a sec. What actually was the peak of the franchise? Was it actually then? Let me check Google Trends. Alright, yeah, I think between FNAF 2 and 3, cool. Wait a sec.
Who the f*** was searching FNAF in 2004?
Anyway, FNAF 3 was probably the most hyped game in the franchise just because of the trailer. The trailer hyped everyone up and revealed the main antagonist of the game, Springtrap. Come to find out, Springtrap was the murderer of 5 children at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, who at the time we only knew as Purple Guy. Later on, we learned Purple Guy to be named William Afton, the co-founder of Fazbear Entertainment. Learning more about William Afton didn't really take away from his character because there was less mystery, yeah, but there was still some mystery, and the general storyline of his character was very interesting to a lot of people. Evidence seems to suggest that he lost a member of his family, which led to him becoming envious of his business partner, the co-founder of Fazbear Entertainment, Henry Emily. William perceived Henry's family as the perfect ideology of what a family should be like, and William had that until he lost someone. So seeming to become an alcoholic and probably abusive father, he decided that if his family can't be perfect, then Henry's can't be either. William's motivations are never made 100% clear, but most evidence points to this being the turning point for his character, the divorce and then death of his wife. It's something we can completely understand why William would be mad about, but it seems like William was just up in the head. He believes that his family not being perfect must also translate to the family of his best friend being ruined as well. But Henry's daughter goes on to possess the very animatronic designed to protect her. William finds this out, discovering the spirit of Charlotte to reside in the puppet, and comes up with the theory that when someone dies, their spirit can follow an object in its vicinity or can follow the object that caused its pain. So seemingly to test this theory, William Afton murders 5 children by luring them to the safe room dressed as Spring Bonnie and stuffing them into animatronic suits. The wires of the animatronics killing them. And it works. The spirits of those now publicly missing children now reside in the animatronics. Time passes, William is no longer CEO of the company, and he uses the suit of Golden Freddy to kill 5 more children. The spirit inside Golden Freddy becomes vengeful for a few reasons. One being that they are in the suit that can't stand up, and another being that William murdered children using the body that this spirit resides in. This vengeful spirit, who I believe to be the spirit of Cassidy, some others believing it to be the bite victim or Andrew, makes it their goal to get revenge on Afton. Meanwhile, William has the goal of experimenting with the spirits to find the key to possible immortality through spiritual possession, with the spirits of the dead forever keeping him alive. He sets out to achieve this goal, destroying the animatronics and melting their haunted endoskeletons together, returning to the location to seal the safe room and retrieve the Spring Bonnie suit he used to murder all the children. He finds that tiny fragments of agony or memories of the dead children have remained in the animatronics and have set out to kill him. Cassidy is the one kid who has not been combined with the rest, the bite victim most likely instead being in there, and Cassidy's now free of her animatronic prison and latches on to William. What William didn't account for as he tried to hide in the suit from the fragments of the souls was the hole in the roof and the pouring rain outside. As he got into the suit and laughed at the small souls in front of him, water seeped into the suit, loosening the spring locks and piercing William's skin. The problem for him was that Cassidy had attached her soul to him, so William could never get the relief of death. All he could do was sit there while the pain of the spring locks was drilled into William's mind and body, literally, and never truly being able to end. Michael Afton, Henry Emily, and probably even William Afton himself thought that he was finished. He'd never return. But he always comes back. After the Springlock failure, he came back as Springtrap. After burning as Springtrap, he came back as Scraptrap. After burning as Scraptrap, he came back once again as Glitchtrap, and then he came back as Burntrap. He always comes back, and up until now, I think that he came back justifiably. After all, he did say it, didn't he?
I always come back.
He told us all that he always comes back, but he shouldn't anymore. In my personal opinion, I think William Afton is one of the greatest fictional villains, right up there at the top with Kingpin, the Ink Demon, Green Goblin, the Joker, and Negan. I think William sits up there at the top with the rest of them. His storyline in the series is written so well, and while some don't like the way that we learn it, and some don't even like the actual storyline, because we learn it through books and vagueness that we have to solve through theories, but I think now that we know a lot about him, the storyline itself is amazing because it perfectly encapsulates what makes a good villain. His motivation doesn't justify what he does, but some people have the same goals. Some people have the same wishes. Some people have suffered the same loss. We understand where he's coming from because some of us have been where he was at the beginning of the story of FNAF. We get it, but that doesn't mean that his actions are justified. William has fair goals in mind, but his way of setting out to achieve the goals transforms him into a psychopath. For those of you who don't know the difference between a sociopath and a psychopath, it's pretty much this. A psychopath is someone who doesn't have a conscience and can't empathize with others. They believe that their insane actions are justified. A sociopath is someone who actually does have a conscience, but a weak conscience. So while they know their actions to be wrong, they basically have the mindset that the ends justify the means, so even knowing their actions are wrong, they don't really care. William Afton kind of has qualities of both, because he seems to recognize that he is evil, but he also has no empathy and no regard for the fact that he murdered children, and instead just found it fascinating that the children he murdered have possessed the animatronics. He finds it miraculous, but he doesn't give a shit about the fact that he literally murdered them in cold blood. It really seems like he doesn't have any empathy, obviously, and he also seems to think that his actions are justified, but they're not. The thing about Afton coming back for me is that I don't really have a problem with the fact that he has come back so many times. The amount of times that he did, I understand, but I would have a problem if he keeps coming back. The reason I don't have a problem with him coming back so far is because he always has a reason to. FNAF 3 clearly shows that he has survived the fire, so his return in FNAF 6 makes perfect sense. But where this begins to lose people is when he returned after FNAF 6. Now, what I'm about to tell you guys may not go over well, but I don't really care, I'm going to say it anyway. FNAF 6 is not a satisfying ending. The FNAF 6 ending is amazing in the moment. The speech is amazing, and by itself it would be satisfying. But the problem stems from the context behind the plan and all the information we have about it. Henry's whole plan is to destroy all the animatronics with any remnant remaining in them by burning them, because according to the Scooper blueprints, Remnant burns in fire. Or does it? You see, whether Remnant actually does burn in fire or not is a completely different topic, but the problem with the plan is that Henry doesn't actually have any reason to assume that it does. The Scooper blueprints say that it is only a possibility that Remnant will burn in fire, so even if Henry believed that it would, killing himself in the process is just moronic. If it's only a possibility, then there is a chance that Henry will literally be the only person who dies in the fire. And as it turns out,
That's exactly what happens.
because Remnant doesn't actually burn in fire. Henry shouldn't have assumed that it does, and even if he were to trust that it would burn, since there's no guarantee, he shouldn't have included himself, because then he has no idea whether or not it works. Another stupid thing is that William and the puppet were literally just in the FNAF 3 fire. The puppet we know was physically there due to a reflection which he appears, and Springtrap was obviously there, and they literally just burned in the fire, and they survived. Why would Henry decide that burning them again would magically work? And why would he put so much faith in it that he would die for it? And if you're going to say that William just escaped the fire, that's not true. The character of Dark Springtrap exists as a burned version of Springtrap because he did burn in the fire. We see Dark Springtrap and sister location in the burned down FNAF 3 building. Yes, inside, meaning he wasn't able to escape and just took the fire like a champ. So the fact that FNAF 6 was a labyrinth with no exit doesn't really mean anything, because he was still trapped in FNAF 3 anyway, so him being trapped in the burning FNAF 6 means that he still would have survived. Or at least, he didn't really survive. He probably died at some point, but he still, he's not really alive anymore. He's crippled, but he's still around. He's not freed by the fire. That's the problem. So therefore, William's return as Glitchtrap in FNAF VR makes perfect sense. Lore-wise, it makes sense how it happened, and because the FNAF 6 fire didn't work, it makes sense why it was possible for it to happen. And his infamous return as Burntrap made sense, as the entire reason Glitchtrap existed as a character was to bring Afton back. A lot of people don't think Burntrap should have been a character, but Glitchtrap's existence was literally to create Burntrap. That's the point. The problem with Burntrap, though, is that in Security Breach itself, he doesn't do anything. The story of how he came to be, as we see in the Tales from the Pizza Box book, is amazing to read. But in Security Breach itself, he has a really sick reveal, stands there, walks back and forth a couple times, sends minions after you, then gets captured by the blob, and nothing else. That's all we see of Afton in the game. Burntrap didn't even have voice lines. He was supposed to have so much more, including a chase sequence and a voice by Matthew Curtis, which we heard in the February trailer of Security Breach, that was never actually in the game. I will never understand why it was cut, because it was a really good voice, and it would have made Burntrap a cooler character. If he actually did anything, he would have been so cool. His existence was set up 2.5 years before he himself even appeared, yet his existence almost feels pointless because he doesn't do anything, and he instantly vanishes like 10 minutes after he appears for the first time. He doesn't do anything in the actual story of Security Breach, at least not yet. I believe William will be combining with the Blob in the Ruin DLC, becoming the game's equivalent of the Afton amalgamation. I made a video discussing the Blob as well as this possibility of them combining, so check that out if you haven't already, but the point is that Afton combining with the Blob and becoming the Afton amalgamation would be so cool if he's utilized correctly. I'm really worried that he'll be underutilized like Burntrap was. I really feel like Afton's character will be drawn out too much if he returns any further than Ruin, and I think that Ruin should be his final outing. They have the perfect opportunity to get rid of Afton and Ruin because the Afton amalgamation in the books is William's final outing, and sets up a new villain. So Ruin doing this would be so much better than just dragging William Afton's character out even more than he already is. All I want is for Afton to just stop coming back, but I want him to have a satisfying ending. FNAF 6 wouldn't make sense to be the end of him for the reasons I explained. Burntrap would be a terrible way to kill him off because he didn't actually do anything, so combining with the Blob in the DLC will be the final way that they can actually get rid of him, but they need to do it right. We need it to be satisfying, and we need Afton to stop coming back. I really hope Steelwool and Scott have heard the outcries about Afton's return and will actually get rid of him after Ruin. But do you guys think he'll be killed off in Ruin, or do you think he'll return again after that? Let me know in the comments what you think, and if you did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye guys!